Hello, everyone. Welcome to the contributors meeting. I'm going to be your host today. I'm Leo. And starting with triage and discussion, I was the one assigned last week together with Nitish. Looking at, I took a look at the open issues. Did nothing stood out to me that worth mentioning. Not sure, Nitish. Do you have anything to add? Not sure if Nitish is in the call. Yeah, he's not. Okay. All right. Moving forward, we need to select other two names for doing triage next week. Remembering that next week's going to be ArgoCon, KubeCon week, so we're probably not going to have this meeting next week, but it's going to be for the week after. Any volunteers in the call for doing triage?
I
I
can
can
do
second it.
one.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay. Any other volunteers? Okay, I'll just mute myself and move on. All right, so starting with the discussion sections of the meeting, we have the first topic from Cameron Harrell. Is any of you in the call? Doesn't seem so. Nitish not in the call. He's asking about the plugin support. I added some comments here, so there is an outstanding issues that was identified with the existing flags. Alex, I saw you jumped on the review as well. So basically, I provided him this feedback this morning.
Yeah,
Base,
we talked in DM a bit.
okay,
He's looking at options, I think.
all right. Okay, so basically, I guess from the last meeting, the idea was getting it merged, and cherry picking in 3.0. At this point, I think it's safe to say that we're not cherry picking and merging this for 3.0, but rather for aiming for 3.1. All right. Um, Moving forward, we have another topic from Idrid. I'm not sure I can. I know how to
Hey,
pronounce
no, that's all right. It's Adrian. Yeah, it's
Adrian.
just yeah. We were given the link to this call because so that pull request has been approved, and I think we just want a bit of feedback as to when that's likely to get merged.
Okay. Would you mind providing us a little bit of context on this?
So the issue that it points to gives the
Yeah.
context. So right, so essentially, the webhook, the GitLab webhook, when it's determining um, which sources are likely to need syncing based on that webhook, just does one of the things it does is it compares the reference from the webhook event with the target reference of the source, but it just does a basic string comparison. But the problem is when you've got a target reference, which is a semver constraint. So you might have one dot star and you get a webhook event coming in saying there's a tag now called 1.2. That comparison fails.
Mhm.
And the webhook basically just gets ignored. So if you are using semver constraints, you are dependent on the you know the the
Timeout.
regular
Oh, yeah.
the regular polling. So this fixes that. So if it fails the basic um, string comparison, it then does a semver constraint check, essentially.
Yeah.
If the target reference looks like a semver constraint and the webhook reference looks like a semver version.
Can I give a bit of context as well? I'm a
Sure.
colleague of Idrid's. We work together. We're from Denham. Um, we're very excited about using the product for GitOps, a huge transformation in the business. And Argo CD has this fantastic feature where we can follow Semver tags. We we use it with GitLab. We run GitLab internally, and we're very conscious about putting a lot of pressure on GitLab. We have a lot of integrations, so having a very tight timeout loop for Argo CD against GitLab is sort of not what we want to do. And so we're very dependent on webhooks. And at the minute, we sort of can't combine the two to make sure that we're always in sync when a commit happens. And we also want to use this sort of Semver constraint functionality. And I think it's a fantastic thing for Argo CD. So hopefully we've made a good contribution, and would love to see it get into the main branch.
Great. So I see Ishita already approved. Okay. So any objection in moving forward with this PR? Anyone in the call?
Only question would be how far back do we need to cherry pick it?
I think I can't remember exactly, but I put it in the MR. I think the latest release and two minor versions back. I think maybe if you
Which
look at the
version?
MR,
Sorry.
if you look at the MR description, I put it in there. I can't remember exactly. We're on the latest release at the moment. Well, the latest
214.
patch. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, if there are other customers sort of clamoring for this fix, I would go all the way back to 2.12. But if it's just y'all right now, I just go to 2.14 and 3.0 just to be a little bit safer. And if something pops up that's wrong with it, we'll have the chance to fix it there.
Yeah. No problem.
Cool.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
consideration.
you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for contributing. All right, moving on. Reggie, you have a topic. You want to provide some details about it?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually wondering about using multiple Argo CD instances in the same cluster, and I'm aware of the fact that we have two modes. We have the Argo CD in cluster mode, which we can work with and use application in any namespace for further distribution and correctly like managing apps in different namespaces. And then we have the namespace mode, which I understand that is very suitable for situations where I would not be installing that much, or I would not be deploying that much stuff to my local Kubernetes cluster, but I would mostly be deploying stuff to remote clusters. And then I can have multiple Argo CDs installed in different namespaces in the same cluster. And obviously, there is the question of the ownership of the CRDs and what happens if one of the versions of Argo CD we have a different CRD version. So I'm kind of wondering whether it is recommended, supported, and whether how widely this is even adopted, running multiple Argo CD instances in the same cluster. Or what pitfalls should I expect apart from the CRD management, and am I in danger of those instances trying to manage each other's apps?
I mean, that's what we do at Intuit, and there's no problem because each instance will monitor their own namespace. And yeah, like you said, the RBAC, some cluster RBAC are necessary, and they're managed outside of Argo individual instances, but we cannot combine that with a feature like apps in any namespace.
So are you running application set cluster mode or namespace mode?
Namespace mode as well.
And are you deploying to the local cluster or just the remote ones?
Remote.
Just remote, right?
Mostly remote, but
Mostly
we
remote,
can
yeah.
deploy the in cluster, and if we deploy in the in cluster, it will deploy in the instance self namespace, basically.
We do actually. I don't know if it's worth contributing as well.
Sure.
We're running a hub and spoke model with Argo CD with any namespace. And although we haven't fully rolled out to production yet, we have 2 instances of Argo CD running from the hub cluster and then targeting multiple clusters on the spokes. There is a separation of, so it's sort of separated down sort of environment. So we've got an Argo CD instance per environment, and they target specific clusters separately, but they coexist within the hub basically. So there's effectively namespace separation on the cluster level at the downstream clusters. We have had issues. We've also contributed a fix with regards to that, with regards to ownership. I think you can configure Argo CD to use different annotations as to what resources it's controlling. It has ownership for, so you can then separate those two in the hub, and then also in the downstream clusters. Yeah. So
Are you talking about the resource tracking or
the resource tracking, essentially? Yeah. Is that right, Idrit? It is resource tracking plus ownership.
There was an issue.
Installation
Testing.
ID.
It wasn't the installation ID that was the problem. I think it was the operator. It was only applying the namespace filtering on create events, not on update events. So if I had 2 Argo CD instances, someone deployed an application in a namespace that's supposed to only be for one instance, that update, well, if you create it and then change it later on, that update event gets picked up by both instances, and both instances start reacting to it. So you get the problem where both instances start fighting over
the same application?
The same application.
The same
but that's
application.
fixed now.
Yeah.
There's a fix in for that.
But in
Do
your
you remember
case,
which
Reggie,
version that fix is in?
I'm sorry.
I don't. I think that only went into 14. I don't think it can. I can dig out the PR if you give me.
No
A few
problem. But
moments.
Reggie, you mentioned about apps in any namespace. It feels to me like you're trying to use this functionality as well in your use case, or
No, actually not. In my use case, I have a customer that is currently running Argo CD in namespace mode,
Mhm.
multiple Argo CD instances.
Right.
And they are exactly fighting over the same application. And I was just trying to figure out whether this is some kind of misconfiguration or really a problem that exists, which is not not supportable when you use the same cluster. I mentioned the apps in any namespace because I have thought like as an alternative to managing those multiple runtimes, which I'm not even sure yet from the customer's point of view, what is the exact scenario why they do that. But I was thinking about an alternative of having one Argo CD instance and then applications in different namespaces. But I still need a bit details before, I'm not going to recommend them anything now. I'm just trying to figure out really whether what they're doing doesn't even make sense with the problem that they're facing. But it actually sounds that such a problem exists and in that it was resolved at some point. So it's a very good input. Yeah, of course. Apps in any namespace is only when you run cluster scoped Argo CD. I know it's mutually exclusive with the namespace scoped one. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we don't face that problem of clashing because we have clusters, we have instances configured with different targets, and the application lives in the specific instances. So that would avoid the clash. So if there is a clash, maybe there's a misconfiguration somewhere. But yeah, hard to say without understanding the exact configuration they have.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think that I think I have a pretty good input from here, and yeah, Alex, I will also double check their tracking mode. Thank you. But yeah, it's actually it's good to hear that people are using this approach, and that like it at least should work at least in namespace mode and separate namespaces. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, we have more than 40 instances running in the same cluster. Okay, thanks, Reggie. Michael, you have a topic. You want me to click the link? You want to share it yourself? Up to you.
You can click it or not. I can just explain it. Basically, Golang CI lint just released a major version. They had a nice little migrate command to update the like golint dot or .golint file. Anyway, it results in a lot of changed files. This is kind of a mind-numbing review, but I think it's pretty straightforward, a lot of repetition. So if any approver wants to just zone out for like 45 minutes and stare at lines that look basically the same, this PR is perfect for you. So just wanted to let reviewers know that it's there to look at.
So the PR, as I'm understanding, it implements the new, it bumps the new version, the CI lint version, and addresses the problems that new CI lint brings to the job. Is that right?
Yep, exactly.
And why we have that many? Any idea? They introduce new checks, new validations in the code.
Yeah, there's some new validations. The two that are probably the biggest are the one you're looking at now, which is the new linters really don't like it when you capitalize the first letter of an error. And there are a lot of places where we create a new error and then we invoke the check error function, which basically just prints the error message and exits. So there are a lot of places where for user experience, we want capitalization or punctuation in the error message. So I just switched to the underlying function that check error calls. And instead of passing in an error, I just pass it a string. So we can keep the formatting we used in the past. So that's one thing. The other one that popped up a lot was the new linter doesn't like it when you reference embedded fields via
So just a quick question, Michael. The problem I'm highlighting here is just that this M is uppercase. Is that the problem?
exactly. Yep.
I see. Okay, got it. Sorry, you were talking about something else?
Yeah. So the other one is the new linter doesn't like it when you reference, I think they're called embedded fields via the full field path. So if you've got like, I think one of them I saw was HTTP config struct, and you directly embed TLS config as a struct, there are two ways in Golang you're allowed to reference, say, TLS config.ca data. You could say rest config.tls config.ca data, or you could just reference directly rest config.ca data. The linter prefers the latter, the shorter reference of the two. So it actually auto updated all of those references.
Anything you had to manually change in
The
this?
manual ones were the capitalization. There were one or two other small ones. There's a convention for naming top level or global vars that have errors as their contents. So like var my common error equals errors.new. That's incorrect formatting according to the new linters. It has to be var air my common, something like that. It has to start with the letters ERR. So I just renamed those variables.
I
Yeah,
can
Looks like the new linter is a bit picky.
it is a bit picky. And thankfully, it was able to change most stuff automatically. Like these things
Mhm.
where it says, we don't do not equals or equals. We do not equals and not equals. So some fun Boolean logic transformation. It did all that automatically.
I see, I see.
And it's opinionated, but like if it does it
Yeah.
automatically, I don't care that much.
Mhm. Okay. And all the tests are passing, I suppose.
Yep, test pass.
Okay, I can take a look at that.
Cool.
All right. Anything else? Anyone? That was so you're done, Michael, with this topic?
This is actually a separate topic.
Oh, it's a separate one. Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, so the Argoproj package repo has been the home for a lot of common functions that all the Argoproj projects rely on. Uh, I recently did an analysis and found that the vast majority of these functions are only used by one Argoproj project, and they've been there long enough that I'm fairly confident that's the way it's always going to be. So I did some work with different projects to basically copy and paste these functions into their respective projects. And the biggest one was Argo workflows. They had like S3 stuff and a bunch of logic that really just needed to live in their repo. So I moved it all out. And then the next step is I want to delete all those functions from this repo and cut a new Go module version since it is a breaking change and go and update everyone's go.mod to use the new version. And the immediate benefit there is going to be a bunch of people's Go sums are going to get a lot smaller. Like Argo CD is no longer going to be importing all these S3 projects that we don't use. Yeah, so the idea is just make maintenance easier, don't abstract stuff that doesn't need to be abstracted. And I just want to make sure people are cool with me cutting the V2 because theoretically this might need like a maintainers meeting discussion, but if it seems safe and simple enough to everybody, I'll just do it.
You said you created PRs on the projects that we're using, so we were able to identify all the projects using the library.
Yeah, so go back to the description for this issue and hit, yeah, that link. So I did an initial analysis, scroll down a bit of which packages are imported by the different projects. And I've continually updated this as I've moved functions into the respective projects. And these lists have gotten a lot smaller. So now I think it's minimal because every dependency is used by at least two projects. So I think this is the set of stuff that makes sense to abstract, or at least makes some sense to abstract. And then everything else has been, all the PRs I've opened have been merged.
I'm thinking if someone outside of Argo is maybe using this package for any given reason, how they would be impacted by this. Would it be transparent for them as we're not blowing away the previous tag, right? So GoMod should be able to provide the previous version of the library as it was.
Yeah, they're, Dependabot's going to bump them to V2. They're going to get build errors and then they'll know what happened. I doubt many people externally are using these utilities. And that's part of the motivation for getting rid of a bunch of them. We can find the ones that are actually super duper useful and then maybe market them individually so that other projects can adopt them if they're useful.
I feel like in the new version that you're gonna bump because we're breaking this, I think we should, as a group, like maintaining a proper package and keeping it up to date and fixing bugs and CNCF is like a lot of work, right? And I think we as a project don't want to do that with PKG anymore. So the direction of it is basically reducing. I think we should note that in the README of the new version or something like that. That hey, this like just bring our intent that we don't really plan on supporting this, and that lets people that would be using this maybe start working on shifting away as well.
That's fair. And yeah, I haven't really analyzed the 5 packages that I kept to see, okay, do we think there may be external contributors to this or external users?
Sure.
So I don't really know. Maybe this is something that we want to commit to long-term maintenance of, but maybe what I should just do is write that in the README and say, hey, these may or may not be things we want to maintain long-term, use them at your own risk.
Yeah.
Tell us if you are using them.
Yep, I think that makes sense just to kind of let people know our intent of this package.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree with Zach.
Okay, I'll update the README.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks a lot for working on this. Any other question for Michael?
Or any objections? Do people think we need to take this to like a maintainers meeting, or should we just send it?
Send it.
I'm
No
okay sending
objections.
it.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. That wraps up the planned topics we had today. I'm gonna move this one on at the top as the person wasn't available. Any other last minute topics someone wants to discuss today? Okay, so just remembering like next week, we're not gonna have this meeting then. If you can maybe cancel the meeting in the calendar for next week as we are gonna have ArgoCon, KubeCon. All right, so thanks everybody and see you in 2 weeks.
See some of you in London.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Hey.